You look at her and something feels off. She's beautiful, confident, magnetic, but deep down your gut murmurs that there's something she's not telling you. You can't quite identify it, but it lingers in how she moves, how she looks at you, how she talks about men without flinching. And today, I'm going to reveal the subtle psychological indicators that she's been with many men, the signs most males miss because no one ever teaches men how to see through a woman's mask. Before we begin, take a second, subscribe, and hit that like button because what I'm about to tell you will forever alter how you read women. Now, let's start with the truth no one wishes to admit. Women are far better at hiding their past than males are at uncovering them. Society protects them. Movies glorify their freedom. But underneath all that empowerment remains emotional residue, patterns that cannot be erased. Every male she's been with leaves an imprint, not just physically, but emotionally, neurologically, and spiritually. A woman who's been with many men often learns how to perform roles. She becomes adaptive. She knows what kind of personality attracts what kind of male. So when you encounter her, it's not always her authentic self you're seeing. It's a version refined through repetition. She knows how to mirror your energy, how to say what you want to hear, how to create immediate chemistry. But the rapport isn't always connection, it's performance. And you'll feel it if you're quiet enough to observe. There's a detachment in her intimacy. She can kiss you like she means it, yet her eyes seem somewhere else. When she tells you stories about her prior relationships, the details are vague, blurry, almost rehearsed because she's learned to edit her truth. And here's the thing, she's not malevolent for it. She's vigilant. Every man she's been with has shaped her defenses. What most men term confidence in a woman can sometimes be emotional numbness. She's seen enough, done enough, and survived it enough sorrow that vulnerability feels foreign. She knows how to switch on desire, but struggles to sustain emotional depth. And while you're thinking you found a woman who's distinct, she's playing a pattern she's mastered. You're not her first, and you might not be her last, unless you learn how to decipher what her silence is really saying. Here's the first thing you have to comprehend. Women remember emotions, not features. Every man she's been with left behind a piece of his emotional fingerprint, his vitality, his attention, his validation. And when a woman has had that emotional cycle again and again, something inside her transforms. She becomes desensitized, not in a cruel way, but in a way that makes deep emotional connection difficult to sustain. You'll notice it in her inability to remain impressed. Compliments glide off her like rain on glass. Your affection doesn't make her radiate. It scarcely makes her blink. For what reason? Because she's heard it all before. She's been the center of attention, the prize, the fantasy many times. So instead of melting when you give her affection, she analyzes it. She measures it against what she's experienced. And that, my friend, is how you know she's emotionally overexposed. There's another sign, her relationship with validation. Women who've had many experiences often desire external approval like oxygen. Social media becomes her arena. Every selfie, every fire emoji, every DM, it's not conceit, it's habit. She's been conditioned to associate her value with being desired. It's not that she's evil, it's that attention has become her emotional currency. But here's where most males misunderstand this type of woman. They either judge her or revere her. Both are errors. Judgment pushes her further into defense, and worship fuels her ego while starving your self-respect. The secret is observation without attachment. Watch how she reacts when you don't give her validation. Does she draw back? Does she challenge you? Does she attempt to provoke emotion out of you just to feel power again? That's not affection. It's control disguised as connection. You'll also observe subtle clues in her language. She'll speak about vibes, energy, or chemistry more than commitment, loyalty, or trust. That's because for her, relationships have been more about experiencing something than building something. The thrill of newness excites her more than the safeguard of consistency, and when the excitement diminishes, so does her interest. Don't let her attractiveness blind you. A woman's experience shapes her psychology. When her emotional history flows deep, you're not just dating her. You're courting the echoes of every man who came before you. And if you can't detect those echoes, they'll quietly control your relationship without you ever realizing it. There's a certain energy a woman carries when she's been desired by many males. It's subtle, but potent. She walks into a room with a kind of practiced poise, like she knows exactly how eyes move when they follow her. She doesn't pursue attention anymore. She expects it. That's the difference. And males mistake that expectation for confidence. But confidence founded on external validation isn't self-worth, it's self-performance. Watch her body language when she's around males. She's secure in the spotlight. Even if she pretends she's shy, her laugh, her tone, her eye contact, all calibrated to command interest without appearing like she's trying. It's not manipulation, it's muscle memory. Years of learning how to be seen, desired, pursued, and when that becomes routine, being unnoticed feels unbearable to her. You'll also observe how she responds to emotional closeness. Women with long emotional histories often grapple with stillness. The quiet, deep moments where two people simply sense each other. Those moments make her restless. Because for her, connection has often been linked to movement, drama, tension, excitement, chaos. Stillness feels exotic. She'll conjure something up just to feel alive again. It's why she might provoke little emotional tests, pulling away just to see if you'll pursue, flirting with others to measure your reaction, withholding affection to gauge your patience. To her, these behaviors aren't malicious. They're familiar. They're her means of confirming she still holds power, because in her past, love was never secure. It was a game she learned to survive, not a bond she learned to trust. But here's the painful truth. Beneath that boldness, there's often exhaustion. A part of her desires peace, loyalty, and real connection. But she doesn't know how to rest in it. Too many emotional highs and lows have rewired her brain for continual stimulation. She equates peace with boredom and attention with affection. So when a man arrives offering stability, she subconsciously sabotages it. And that's where most decent men get trapped. They strive harder to prove they're different. They overgive, overlove, and over-explain, hoping to reach the version of her that's buried under years of clamor. But the more you pursue her calm, the more you awaken her chaos. Because what she genuinely needs isn't more attention, it's emotional purification, something only she can choose to confront. When a woman has been with many men, her concept of love subtly shifts. It's no longer about developing together. It's about what she feels in the moment. She's learned that emotions can be intense, transient, and addictive. And when you've sampled that emotional roller coaster enough times, calm love feels dull. Real connection feels too silent. So she begins chasing that spark, the one she associates with desire, not depth. You'll see this in how she speaks about relationships. She'll say things like, "I just want a connection that feels right," or "I'm waiting for the spark." But that spark she's describing isn't the intimacy of compatibility. It's the exhilaration of novelty. It's what she felt the first time she was desired by someone new. Every man after that was a quest for that same high again. What she doesn't comprehend is that she's chasing chemistry that can't exist once innocence is gone. Now, here's where matters get complicated for men. You meet her. You feel drawn to her vitality. It's exciting. She's emotionally astute, flirty, confident. You believe she's the kind of woman who knows what she wants, but what she actually knows is how to make you want her because she's learned what emotional buttons to press, not maliciously, but instinctively. She survived through attraction. It's become her vernacular. And when a man doesn't give her that constant emotional feedback, she begins to drift. She'll test your attention, disappear for a while, or claim she needs space. What she's really saying is, "You're not triggering my emotions anymore." It's not about love, it's about stimulation. Because for her, stillness feels like emptiness, and she doesn't know how to fill vacancy without being desired. This is why many males feel emotionally drained after dating women like this. You feel like you're continually performing to keep her interested. You start second-guessing your words, your tone, your silence. But here's the truth. It's not your responsibility to entertain her emotional hunger. It's your responsibility to see it for what it is. A sign of a woman who's lost contact with emotional groundedness. The most potent thing a man can do in this situation is remain steady. Don't pursue. Don't revise. Don't contend with her past. The moment you stop feeding her cycle of stimulation, her reality begins to catch up. And that's when the truth begins to surface. The part of her that isn't sure who she really is without male attention reflecting it back to her. Here's where most men miss the deeper psychology. When a woman has a lengthy emotional history, it's not just her heart that changes. It's her attachment system. Every connection, every separation, every betrayal reshapes how her brain perceives safety. She starts associating intensity with intimacy, chaos with concern, and distance with desire. That's why she may say she wants a genuine man, but unconsciously choose the kind of men who keep her guessing. Predictability doesn't inspire her. It confuses her. You'll see it in the way she interprets tranquility. When you're tranquil, consistent, and emotionally stable, she might accuse you of being distant. When you give her space, she questions if you've lost interest. When you communicate clearly, she feels exposed because in her past, love wasn't this simple. It was always something she had to earn, perform for, or compete to keep. That emotional memory doesn't diminish. It dictates how she connects, and when she's been through that cycle enough, she becomes emotionally bilingual, fluent in attraction, but lost in intimacy. She knows how to make you fall for her, but not how to stay once you do. You'll sense it in the inconsistency. One day she's affectionate, open, maybe even vulnerable, and the next she's distant, sarcastic, or frigid. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's fighting her own circuitry. You'll also observe her boundaries are blurred. She might talk about self-love and independence, but her actions reveal emotional dependency on male validation. One instant, she's posting about not needing anyone. The next, she's checking her phone every few minutes, waiting for attention. It's not hypocrisy, it's perplexity. She's torn between who she desires to be and who her experiences have conditioned her to be. Men who fall for women like this often lose themselves attempting to heal her. You see her pain, her strength, her complexity, and you want to be the one who ultimately earns her trust. But here's the stark truth. You can't heal a woman who hasn't decided she's ready to quit performing. The moment you attempt to fix her, you become part of the script she's already written. She'll appreciate your effort, but she won't fully receive it. The only way to cope with this kind of woman is through emotional detachment with empathy. Understand her psychology, but don't get caught in it. See her patterns, but don't make them yours. Because once you start adjusting your serenity to accommodate her chaos, you're no longer loving her. You're losing yourself. There's a silent heaviness that follows a woman who's been through too many emotional connections. You can perceive it before she even speaks. It's in the way she retains eye contact just long enough to be intriguing, but never long enough to be vulnerable. It's in her laughter that feels practiced, and her anecdotes that sound too polished. You can tell she's learned to make her suffering look like power. And the truth is, she's exhausted. Tired of giving pieces of herself away to men who only saw fragments, never the complete picture. That exhaustion creates a paradox. She desires love but doesn't trust it. She desires commitment but fears confinement. She says she desires honesty, yet hides behind half-truths, not because she wishes to deceive, but because vulnerability now feels like danger. Each male who entered her life taught her a lesson, but those teachings built walls, not bridges. And now connection feels like exposure. So she remains guarded behind charm and sarcasm, using humor to deflect depth. When you speak to her about the future, she changes the subject. When you attempt to go deeper, she jokes. When you ask her what she desires, she says, "I don't know anymore." That's not indifference, it's emotional fatigue. She's experienced so much that she no longer trusts her own judgment. Every decent man reminds her of the ones who lied, and every bad man feels familiar enough to feel secure. It's twisted psychology, but it's genuine. She's built an identity on being desired, not being known. That's why compliments don't touch her essence anymore. They ricochet off her armor. She's heard every word before, lived every fantasy before, and wept every tear before. What she secretly longs for isn't attention. It's leisure. She wishes to stop performing, stop seducing, stop proving she's enough. But she doesn't know how to do that without relinquishing the only power she's ever known: attraction. If you ever find yourself loving a woman like this, don't attempt to outlaw her past. Don't contend with her memories. Instead, become the one thing she's never genuinely experienced: stability without judgment. You can't make her forget who she's been with, but you can remind her that not every male needs to take something from her to feel like a man. That sometimes strength is in stillness, and love isn't supposed to feel like survival. The deeper truth that most men never comprehend is this. When a woman has revealed herself too many times emotionally or physically, what really fades isn't purity, it's presence. Her ability to be fully in the moment with one man begins to fracture. Every time she gives herself away, a small part of her remains bound to the memory of someone else. It's not about morality, it's about emotional residue. The body continues on, but the heart, especially a woman's heart, stores everything. You'll notice this when her affection feels synthetic. She knows how to kiss, how to touch, how to say the correct words, but the warmth feels missing. It's like she's replaying a scene she's performed 100 times. That's because emotional memory doesn't reset. The more times she's been profoundly intimate without emotional safety, the more disconnected she becomes from genuine feeling. And that disconnection shows in her eyes, you'll perceive it. The way she drifts even while she's directly in front of you. This kind of emotional fragmentation creates perplexity inside her. She can't tell if she's in love or just pursuing the ghost of what love used to feel like. So, she keeps moving from one connection to another, hoping the next man will ultimately make her feel whole again. But the truth is, no male can give her that peace, because it's not affection she's missing. It's her own reflection. She's been seen by so many eyes, but rarely for who she really is underneath the layers of performance. And here's where you, as a man, must be wiser. You can't save her by giving more. You can only steady her by giving less. Less reaction, less over-explaining, less emotional pursuit. When you remain calm in the presence of her confusion, she'll begin to see the contrast between your stillness and the chaos she's used to. That contrast is what awakens her. Not lectures, not arguments, just calm certainty. But make no mistake, this awakening won't always lead to happily ever after. Some women aren't ready to meet themselves yet. They'll retreat back to the noise, back to the validation, because serenity feels too foreign. Don't follow her there. Let her go with grace, because adoring a woman like that teaches you something profound. No matter how much you want to rescue someone from their patterns, you can't swim for two individuals. You can only stand firm on shore and pray one day she chooses to come back to herself. Here's the truth most men never get told. When you've seen through the mask, when you've felt that hollow beauty that comes from a woman who's lived too many emotional lifetimes, something in you changes too. You cease chasing surface. You start craving substance. You stop falling for charm and start listening for calm. Because now you understand that not every woman's attention is a gift. And not every connection deserves your essence. A woman's past doesn't render her unworthy. But her awareness of that past determines whether she's ready for something genuine. Some women look back with honesty. They confront their patterns, felt their guilt, done their healing. Those women can love profoundly, safely, fully. But others still flee from their reflections, using attention to numb the silence. They call it liberation, but it's really avoidance dressed as empowerment. And if you fall for that illusion, you'll lose yourself attempting to prove your worth in a story that was broken long before you entered it. So here's what I want you to remember. As a man who's learning to see plainly, emotional discipline is your protection. Don't let desire blind you to patterns. Don't let chemistry mislead you into believing in compatibility. Attraction is simple. Alignment is uncommon. The kind of woman worth entrusting your heart to isn't the one who excites your ego. It's the one who lends peace to your mind. You'll know her not by how loud her attractiveness speaks, but by how quietly her presence feels. And maybe that's the toughest part. Letting go of the delusion. Because deep down, every man wants to be the one who changes a woman who's been wounded, but true strength isn't in fixing her. It's in choosing not to lose yourself attempting. It's in walking away from chaos without resentment and in holding your standards high enough that love must aspire to meet them. So if you've ever wondered how to recognize when a woman has been through too much, now you know it's in the silence between her words, in the distance behind her smile, in the way she attempts to love without ever truly letting you in. Learn to see that, and you'll never be misled again. If this opened your eyes even a little, subscribe right now, because every week I break down the concealed psychology of women, love, and attraction, so you can finally see through the illusions and never give your power away again.